Hello Year 6, I'm Mr. Fisher and I'm one of your future history teachers at Barnsley Academy. I'm here to talk to you today about Eleanor of Aquitaine. She is one of, if not the most interesting person of the medieval period. I really enjoy talking about Eleanor, so if you're lucky you have me next year, you'll get to hear about her all the time. So we're going to look at 5 different slides today, and we're going to talk about 5 steps in Eleanor's life. In 1137, Eleanor, she became the Duchess of Aquitaine. So that means that she was in control of Aquitaine. Aquitaine is this huge region here in France, and she became a Duchess of Aquitaine because sadly her father passed away. Interestingly, for the medieval period, Eleanor's father made sure that she received the best education money could buy. This really displays his love for her, because in the medieval period, education for girls was not valued like it is today, so very few women would become educated, and throughout her life we'll be able to see how super smart and intelligent Eleanor was. Eleanor, she actually ruled Aquitaine like a man. She ruled it totally in her control. As we can see in the next slide, when she gets married, Aquitaine doesn't go to her husband, it stays in her name. This is because her father, just before he died, knew how valuable Aquitaine was. So he made sure that Aquitaine always be Eleanor's and never her husband's. The same year that Eleanor became the Duchess of Aquitaine, in 1137, she also married King Louis VII of France. King Louis, he only ruled this small section of France around Paris called the Isle de France, which literally translates to the island of France. It was called that because the rest of France was quite independent. You've seen that in your last video you watched about William the Conqueror, because William was able to conquer England, even though technically he was supposed to listen to the King of France. Eleanor's marriage to Louis was not a marriage of love like today. It was a marriage of politics. They did this because Louis didn't really have much land in France, and then by marrying Eleanor, he thought he would gain control of Aquitaine, that huge region in the south. But he didn't realise that Eleanor's father had outsmarted him and made sure that Aquitaine would always stay in her hands. We don't really know what Eleanor thought, because people didn't really keep diaries at this point. However, we can infer she hated Louis. And in the next slide, we're going to see one really big example of why she hated him. But Louis, he would go around and he would tell Eleanor what to do. And Eleanor is not the kind of woman who would accept a man telling her what to do. 10 years into Eleanor and Louis's marriage in 1147, the Second Crusade happens. The Crusades, in a quick summary, are when the Christians of Europe decided to take their armies all the way to the Middle East to try and reclaim what they thought was their Holy Land, where Jesus lived. Eleanor did something quite shocking by medieval standards. She didn't stay in Paris like she was supposed to, but she actually went on crusade. And she didn't just go on crusade as the Queen of France, just to live in luxury and watch Louis fight. No, she went as the Duchess of Aquitaine. As the Duchess of Aquitaine, rather than the Queen of France, she took her own armies and she led those armies from the front. She really became like a warrior queen, which was so uncommon in the medieval period that very rarely very rarely happened. One of the reasons why she went on crusade was to go see her uncle. Her uncle was Prince Raymond of Antioch, and Antioch's just right here. And Eleanor and Raymond were really close, and she hadn't seen them for a very long time, so she wanted to go see her uncle. But Louis, what we've already known about him telling Eleanor what to do, he didn't like this at all. He was very controlling, and well, he just didn't like it. He was very, very, very jealous of their relationship. This painting on the right here, this is a painting of when Louis met Raymond. So if we look here, that's Louis. He's got his little crown on there. And this man here, that's Raymond of Toulouse. Raymond of Antioch now. He's no longer of Toulouse. Raymond of Antioch. This is of their first meeting. There's one issue with this painting though. Who's it missing? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think about it. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. 5 seconds. Where's Eleanor? Where is she? We know she was in the Holy Land. We know she would have been with Louis because she would have wanted to go and see Raymond straight away. And yet Louis told whoever painted this not to put Eleanor in it. That pretty much sums up their relationship. He's essentially photocropped Eleanor out of an image. So that's pretty much showing us their relationship is not good at this point. Eleanor and Louis' marriage, it survives the Second Crusade. It survives it barely though. It doesn't do very well. This is because Eleanor and Louis, they hated each other by this point, 10 years into their marriage. When they were back in Paris, they were at like a banquet, which is like a party. And Louis got really angry at Eleanor and he blamed her for the Second Crusade because the Christians lost. Louis had to retreat from the Holy Land. It was a great, great shame because he looked silly. He blamed Eleanor for that loss, for going on crusade with him. He was like, it was your fault. I know it's your fault because you've only given me 2 daughters. Today, nobody would really mind if they had 2 daughters, but medieval period, and especially with medieval kings, they only want one thing, and that's a son. Eleanor didn't give him any sons, so he said that she failed him. Eleanor did something pretty reckless, but also pretty amazing. This is one reason why I love her. She accused him of not being a real man, because a real man would have had a son by now, and he would have won the Second Crusade. So what Eleanor's done there in front of lots of people who would have been listening, is she's directly challenged him. That's not good. So they got divorced. Eleanor leaves Paris. She has to leave her daughters, sadly, but they'll be safe. They are still daughters of the king. And she goes back to Aquitaine. The whole way back to Aquitaine, she's chased by knights and lords, and they want to capture her, marry her, and steal Aquitaine. Eleanor's not having any of it. So within 8 weeks, she travels from Aquitaine. So that is, she travels from here. She goes all the way north here to near where Anjou is in France, and she meets this young lord known as Henry Plantagenet. They get married. Henry Plantagenet is somebody you'll learn about next year as well. He's known as King Henry II of England. Henry ruled over England, parts of Wales, Ireland, Normandy, and parts of northern France. So within 8 weeks, Eleanor had gone from being Queen of France to Queen of England, and now, as being Queen of England, they founded this thing called the Angevin Empire. It's got a really cool name, and they actually ruled more of France than the King of France did. So I bet you can think that, well, Louis must have felt really silly at this point, and He should do. He treated Eleanor really badly. Unlike her marriage with Louis, Eleanor's marriage with Henry was really successful. They had 10 children. Here's a listing of all of their children. So first of all, we've got William. He only lives till he's 3 years old. That's very common really. It's medieval period. A lot of people died and a lot of children would have died. But their second son is called Henry the Young King. Then they have another son, Richard. He's apparently Eleanor's favourite, and he would go on to be known as Richard the Lionheart. He leads England and then all of the Christian forces in the Third Crusade, and you'll learn about the Third Crusade next year when we study it. And he gets this really cool relationship with Saladin, who is a Muslim leader during the Third Crusade. But back to Eleanor. She had a daughter called Matilda. Matilda is named in honour of Henry's mother, Empress Matilda. And you'll learn all about Empress Matilda and the anarchy that she led. She's really interesting as well. Then Geoffrey here. They had a daughter called Eleanor. They had Joanna. And then finally their youngest son was John. He is one of the biggest villains in English history. He's known as Bad King John. And we'll learn next year why he's called Bad King John. Because he was a bad man. And I mean a bad man. So there's a quick recap of Eleanor of Aquitaine's life. I ran over a little bit of time, but as you can see at the bottom here, it even says Mr. Fisher loves talking about Eleanor, and I really do. So I've spent a bit of time talking about her. There's quite a bit we haven't spoken about, such as, for example, she goes to prison. Her husband, Henry, puts her in prison for 16 years, and we'll learn why. She probably deserved it, to be perfectly honest. She lived until she was 82, which is a long time now. It's a really long time in medieval period, and she was still essentially the queen at that point. She's a fantastic person. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in September, and then whoever's really lucky, they'll have me next year, Mr. Fisher, and we'll talk about Eleanor all the time. So until September, everyone, have a great day.